Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel again. So, hey, I'm back over here at LMV Fab today, doing a quick update on the 87 Monte Carlo project, the ZL1 Monte Carlo. So, if you've been following the channel, you know we're doing some pretty extensive suspension upgrades on this thing, complete overhaul of the suspension, forward 9-inch rear end, wheelwood disc brakes, QA1 coilover kit, the whole nine, right? So we're doing a full makeover on this suspension. So anyways, last week, guys, we ran into a little bit of a snag. I take full responsibility. It's my fault. But the wheels, the rear wheels on this thing, the offset is just not quite right. And so when Andre was going in to do his measurements to cut the rear end, he noticed that this thing's got some clearance issues. So, and it's my fault, man. I've been sitting on these wheels for probably 2, 3, almost 4 years, thinking that they fit the car and there's no issues, but only to find out that, yeah, there are some issues. So anyways, long story short, after we looked at it for a little bit, we figured out the best thing to do is two things. One, we got to go with a smaller tire, okay? Because the tire that's on there is a 295/25/22, and that 295 is just a little too wide for this wheel setup for it to clear. So I've decided to go with a 275/25, which is about an inch narrower, and it's more of a rounded sidewall as opposed to like a straight up and down sidewall. So hopefully that will help. In the meantime, what I've also decided to do is I'm going to swap out the barrels. So this setup that I'm going with now is a 7-inch outer barrel and a 3-inch inner barrel. As I'm sure you know, with 3-piece wheels, you can swap those out and you can kind of play with the offsets. So this thing is going to be, it's going to have a 7-inch lip on the outer side and a 3-inch lip on the inner side. So essentially it'll look like it's a much wider wheel from the outside, but it'll just be a 10-inch wheel. So and then also in the process of that, of course, he's going to shorten the rear end, and then of course do all the work to make sure that the axles and everything are in line and everything. So anyways, I want to just turn the camera around and show you real quick. Okay, guys, so what I'm doing here is I'm taking a quick measurement of the back spacing of our current wheel. If you recall from my earlier part of the video, we're having clearance issues with this wheel, so we decided to make some changes. So the new setup on this thing will have a 3-inch inner barrel and a 7-inch outer barrel, which essentially means that we will have a much larger outer lip and a much narrower inner lip. Current measurement now on this inner barrel is roughly about 5 inches. So with the 3-inch barrel, we're gaining 2 additional inches on the outer barrel, and we're losing 2 inches on the inner barrel. So, and that will basically just move the wheel further in, closer to the actual wheel well and closer to the actual tub of the rear tub of the vehicle. With these new barrels, with these new 2-piece barrels, with the 7-inch outer and a 3-inch inner barrel, the back spacing is going to change quite a bit. So it'll probably go from something like 5.75 to probably more like I'm thinking probably like 3.5. So essentially moving our wheel. What that's going to do is going to give us a bigger lip, and it's also going to give us a bigger outer lip and a shallower inner lip, which should allow us to have a nice wide lip, and while also fitting it inside the wheel well and being able to tuck the wheel without any rubbing issues. So the current wheel setup has a back spacing of 5 13/16, which roughly is about 5.8 inches. Now, if you're not familiar with back spacing, essentially what back spacing means is it's the measurement, it's the distance of your mounting surface, which is the part that actually mounts to the hub of the vehicle, right? This flat mounting surface. It's the distance from there to the edge of your lip. This is the edge of your lip right here, right? That measurement is extremely critical to ensuring that your wheels will fit your vehicle properly. And different vehicles have different back spacings that work for their suspension geometry and whatnot. So all in all, if this works out like it should, like if my measurements and calculations are correct, we should have the exact perfect fit that will allow us to tuck this wheel with no rubbing and also accomplish the highly coveted 7-inch outer lip. So another important measurement, guys, that a lot of people don't probably realize or understand is the measurement of your wheel width, right? So in this particular case, this is a 10-inch wheel. Now, when they say 10-inch wheel, that means they're measuring from inside the flange. So this little thing, this little lip right here, that's kind of like the flange, right? So your measurement is not from flange or from outer lip to outer lip. Your measurement is actually from inside the flange to inside the flange. So in this particular case here, this is a 10-inch wide wheel. So we're going to measure from inner flange to inner flange, right? Inside lip to inside lip. So that's 10 inches. Now, the overall width of the wheel, which is also important when you're talking about matters involving clearance, is you want to understand not only the width of the wheel, but you also want to understand the overall width. So the overall width with the flanges or the lips, whatever you want to call them, overall, you're looking at 11 inches. So keep that in mind. A 10-inch wheel, or really for that matter, this applies to pretty much any wheel. Whatever your wheel dimension is, if it's a 20 by 10 or 22 by 10 and 22 by 11, 22 by 12, whatever it is, whatever that width number is, just remember the overall width of the wheel is going to be about an inch wider than what you actually have listed as the width of the wheel. Because when it comes to tucking inside of a fender well, the primary measurement that matters the most is the overall width of the wheel, because that also is going to determine how wide your tire is. So your tire and wheel width are extremely important to understand the relationship between the two, so that you get the proper fit and your wheels don't rub, or you don't have any other kind of clearance issues. Fortunately for us, in this particular case, we are doing a full frame notch, and some other things. We're doing a frame notch. We're shortening the rear end, so we're going to alleviate all of our clearance issues with those two things. And then, of course, we're doing a different setup with the barrels, 7-inch outer and a 3-inch inner. So hope that information is helpful. So here are these are the two 275 25s that I was telling you about. So this is a wheel it's a tire that is kind of an off-brand tire. It's called a company called Lazzetti. They're inexpensive. I don't really spend a whole lot of money on these tires because, to be quite honest with you, I don't drive the car very much. And what I've learned is that no matter what brand tire it is, if a car sits long enough and you don't drive it, you're going to get the same result from that tire. It's going to have issues with the sidewall. You'll have low spots or flat spots. It don't really matter how expensive the brand is. They all have issues. So I've used Continental tires. I've used Pirelli tires. I've used Dunlop. I've used all the kind of the high-end tires that people are craving about or raving about, and I've all experienced the same issues with all of them, no matter what. I want to show you guys just sort of a comparison, side-by-side comparison of these tires. So as I mentioned earlier, we went from a 295 25 22 tire to a 275 25 22 tire. Obviously the 275 is the smaller of the two tires. If you don't know that first 3 digits of a tire size, the smaller that number, that means that's the narrower the tire, okay? The bigger that number, that means that's the wider the tire, because that number represents the width of the tire. The second number, which is a 2-digit number, which will be 25, 35, 45, 50, 60, whatever it ends up being, that is a percentage of the overall width. And the overall width is the first 3 digits, which that number is in millimeters, okay? So if you take that number and convert that from millimeters to inches, you get an idea of what your overall width of your tire is. So remember, the first 3 digits is the width of the tire in millimeters. The second 2 digits is the percentage of the sidewall based on that width. So in this case, a 275/25 means that my sidewall, the height of my sidewall, is 25% of the width, which is 275. And I think 275 converted into inches is something like, I think it's 10.6 inches wide. So that means my sidewall is going to be 25%. The height of my sidewall is going to be 25% of that 10.6 inches, which I forget what that number is. You know, it's something like, I don't know, 2 inches maybe, just shy of 2 inches if I'm not mistaken on the sidewall. But you get the idea. I'll put up a little graphic image or something to kind of give you an idea of what it is. I know a lot of you probably know that, but I guarantee there's somebody watching this video who doesn't understand what that means. And then of course the last part of that tire size is the dimension of the wheel. So in this case, if it's a 275 25 22, that means it's a 22-inch wheel with a 10.6 inch width and a 2-inch sidewall when you do the math. Okay, so I'm gonna turn the camera around. I'm gonna show you these tires side by side so you can get an idea of the difference in the sizes from a 275 to a 295. Okay guys, so here are the two tires, right? So the tire on the left is our 295/25. The tire on the right is our 275/25. So when you look at them at first glance, they don't really look like they're all that different in size. But to the naked eye, that would appear to be the case, but they are most definitely different in size. So when you do the math, so I'm just gonna take a tape measure here and just lay it across here. So you see that the 295 is roughly, it's a little bit over about 11.5 inches, right? Okay. You look at the 275. Let's see. Let me do it. So if you look at that, let's see. Roughly, I'll get it about right. That's roughly about, I guess, a little bit over 11.5 inches, probably 11.75, give or take. Okay. Now, if you do the same thing with the 275/25, it is, let's see, let me get it lined up as best I can. It is roughly 11. Let me see here. Let's get it right. Keep moving on me. Okay, so that's about 11.25. So you can definitely see the differences in the width. So obviously the 295 is much wider than the 275, which is the intent. We want the narrower tire on this car so that we don't have the rubbing issues that we were having with the wider tire. Height wise, these are also a little bit off. I think I'm not going to be able to get a good measurement with this tape measure, but I'll post the there's a website out there called tirecomparison.com or something like that. But if you just Google tire comparison chart in Google, it'll come up, and it's really neat because it allows you to drop in the measurements for each tire, and you can compare them side by side, and it'll tell you the height, width, and all of that, so you can determine what's the best fit for your vehicle. But I'll drop the little image in the corner so you can see that, guys. But so here's another side by side comparison, right? So you got your 275/25 on the left, and you got your 295/25 here on the right. You can look at these sidewalls. I mean, to the naked eye, they probably don't look like they're very different in height. But if you look really, really close and you squint your eyes, you can notice that this 275 is definitely a smaller sidewall than the 295, right? It's not much. It's maybe like 1/8 of an inch or maybe even 1/4 of an inch difference, but they're definitely different. Looking at it from the side as well. So if you look side by side comparison, one on top of the other, you can kind of see a little bit where the tire on the left is a little shorter than the tire on the right. Not much. It's kind of hard to see that from that angle, but I assure you, it's definitely a shorter tire. Keep in mind also, this 295 has been stretched out. It's been mounted on a rim for probably over a year, whereas this 295 is a fresh, brand new tire that's never been mounted. So some of that accounts for what you're not seeing and the differences as far as the widths are concerned. So once these tires get stretched out and they mounted on these wheels, they do kind of take on a slightly different kind of form or shape, if you will. So, but just looking at that, from that angle there, you can, if you look at this, you can actually see, the 295 kind of poking out above the 275. So like I said, not a significant difference to the naked eye, but in terms of geometry and measurements, it definitely is a difference, and that difference is critical, and it makes all the difference in making sure that these tires and these wheels won't rub when we mount them on our project. So one other thing that I'm doing also while I'm here, I'm dropping off the Trick Chassis frame reinforcement kit. So Trick Chassis makes a kit that you can weld to your G-body chassis that will stiffen up the frame and prevent some of that flex that G-bodies are known for. If you're familiar with the G-body platform, anytime you put a lot of power in these cars, the frames have a tendency to twist. And so stiffening up the frame and adding braces and stuff like that definitely helps prevent that twist, because we do plan on putting roughly somewhere around the neighborhood of about 800 brake wheel horsepower to this car. So any little thing I can do to make that frame just that much more sturdy and stout is for the best. So I've got this kit over my shoulder here. I'm gonna open it up, guys, and let you see what's inside. So shows all the pieces and stuff that come along with it. So all that stuff has to be welded onto the frame. So yeah, trick chassis. Yeah. See right here. See when you sit the car down all the way down on the wheel. I'll show you in the picture, but it's extremely tight. And if you look at this sidewall on this rim here, you'll notice how on this tire it comes out just a little past the wheel. So that's a little bit of extra meat that we don't need. And then also the sidewall is straight up and down, right? So that other set of tires, it's a narrower tire, so it's gonna eliminate this kind of overhanging lip right here where the tire kind of overhangs the rim, and it'll also, the sidewall will be more of a tapered sidewall as opposed to a straight up and down sidewall. So that should give us just enough clearance so that we can tuck as much of it as we can in there with no rubbing. So but I gotta take these and have the tires swapped, and then of course the barrels, inner and outer barrels, will be changed out as well. Here's another look at our front end and just the work that's been done so far. So last time in the last video you saw, of course, Andre had already installed the QA1 upper and lower control arms. He put the disc brake kit in, the 6-piston wheel woods. He also wire wheeled and painted the frame rails in the front. Since last time, I see he's also included, installed the new G-body Jeep S10 steering shaft. You can see that in there. It's a whole lot cleaner. That G-body steering shaft it's just kind of bulky. It takes up a lot of room. That one is a lot nicer and sleeker. But yeah, you see he's got the steering box in there, all the front steering components, the linkage, all that stuff is in there. So it's coming together nicely, looking good. Yep. There's our front wheel. There's the brakes. So I think it should be all right once we get the tires on there. We also got a frame notch done. Do a little bit of cleaning up, but get it in there. Like I said, I got to get these to the powder coater so he can powder coat those new barrels, and then once he powder coats those new barrels, then we'll reassemble the wheel, and then he'll seal them for me, and then we can get these new tires mounted right here. So like I said, hopefully that that corrects our issue, and this thing will be ready to rock and roll. But what I wanted to show you really quick also, guys, if you can see here, you can kind of notice there's like a noticeable sort of lip that kind of hangs over the wheel here. That's what we're trying to eliminate. We want the wheel to basically be a little bit further out past the tire, if that makes sense, and then the tire will be a little bit further in, kind of like how some of the guys do with some of the Japanese import cars when they do the negative camber wheel setup, where you literally see like the outer lip of the wheel sticking out past the tire. I don't want it that extreme, but that's kind of where I'm going with it, because as I pointed out, the way it is now, you can see right here just from the side profile, you can see the tire sticks out past the face of the wheel, and that unfortunately doesn't work for us. So all right, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed that update. We've definitely got some more work to do on this thing, but we're getting close, guys. We're getting really close. I'm super excited. I got these tires and stuff ready to go, and the wheels. I'm gonna get this over to the shop, to my powder coater to do his thing. But guys, I appreciate you guys as always tuning in to the channel. Guys, keep it locked here. We got plenty more content coming your way. We got some update builds, some build updates coming your way on some of the other projects we have going with our favorite shop, Insane Motorsports. So keep it locked here. Stay tuned to the channel, guys. Of course, definitely want to stay tuned for more updates on the Z01 Monte Carlo, so keep that locked. Also, guys, if you have subscribed and you haven't tapped that notification button, tap that notification bell. That keeps you guys in the loop. Every time I drop a video, you'll be notified, so then you'll see it first and be able to catch up and keep up with all the build updates we got going on. So do that if you haven't already. And of course, if you're new to the channel, if you're watching this video or watching my channel for the first time, please consider subscribing if you like what you saw. And of course, tell a friend and share a video. Okay, see you next time, guys. Take care. Bye.